Hollywood A-listers are distancing themselves from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and are instead supporting the King and Prince William. That's according to a royal expert. Josh Rom has told Sky News, although Harry and Meghan are trying to further their careers in Hollywood, they're falling out with celebrities, and the stars of the stage and screen are throwing their support behind King Charles and the Prince of Wales.
But what I also find very ironic here is, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, they've, it's been reported that they've been falling out with celebrities left, right and centre. I previously broke the story about how Meghan and Cate were not getting on despite Prince Harry wanting a relationship with Orlando Bloom. We've heard that Prince Harry and Meghan, they've fallen out with the Beckhams. We know that George Clooney and Amal are starting to distance themselves. And what's so ironic is, they're trying to retain relevance in Hollywood and they're trying to further their careers in Hollywood with the likes of Netflix and Spotify. But actually, it was Prince William last night who was attending the BAFTAs, surrounded by the great and the good of Hollywood, surrounded by the likes of Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, Cate Blanchett, of course, from Australia. It's Prince William that attended an air ambulance event with the likes of Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible's Tom Cruise. So I find it almost sort of ironic that Prince Harry and Meghan are trying to make it in Hollywood, but yet it's the King and Prince William that are receiving more support from the great and good of stage and screen.
Prince William attended the 77th British Academy Film Awards by himself on Sunday night as the Princess of Wales continues to recover from abdominal surgery. Prince William was spotted speaking with actress Cate Blanchett and spoke with football star David Beckham. It comes as Harry and Meghan launched their new website in an attempt to revamp their brand.
We look at Meghan Markle's acting career. yes, Suits had modest success within Hollywood, but she was hardly Angelina Jolie. She wasn't at the top of the A-list circuit. I know certain sources have told me within the tabloids that actually before she was a royal, how she and her former press representative and her agents would be meeting the tabloids to try and get Meghan into the press to further her career. So, she wasn't this A-list actress. And bearing in mind, she's only been elevated to the world stage because of Prince Harry.
Panellists on Sky's Royal Report have shared their take on Harry and Meghan's new website.
The Sussex website rebrand has landed. What's new?
Well, hi, Cara. Yes, so it's gone from Archerworld to Sussex.com, which is again another rebrand, an effort to sort of refresh their sort of notoriety or their fame or whatever their sort of agenda is here. What I thought was interesting is that there's a massive glossy photo of them on the website itself, and they've chosen very interesting sort of royal colours, a sort of ivory on the navy background, and there's two very lengthy biographies of both of them. Harry's described as an environmental campaigner, an advocate for mental health, obviously a former veteran, military veteran, and a few other things. Meghan, of course, is described as a feminist and a champion of human rights as well. And I think the whole point here is for them, I guess, to get new commercial deals. And the criticism, of course, is by using the name Sussex, they're commercialising their royal ties, the royal family, of course, which they have shunned and criticised at every opportunity.
But Bronte, a reset is more than a rebrand, isn't it?
Yeah, look, in a lot of ways, I think we've seen this coming for a while. They've been drip feeding bits of information for some time about this next chapter. Meghan spoke about on the red carpet at a variety event. It was mentioned even in Omid Scobie's book at the end of last year, and he's known to be quite sympathetic to the Sussexes. And he even said that, they'd struggled to find their purpose initially, and there'd been a bit of a scattergun approach to their duties or their role after leaving the royal family. So, look, these rebrands, I think this is actually the fourth now since they've been married, but they are in need of a full reset. So in a lot of ways, this makes sense because it has been messy since they've branched out on their own. And it is also the case that they've been sort of drip feeding that idea that they're looking towards reconciliation, no longer looking in the rear view and looking towards, mending fences, but also just, I suppose, reuniting in a way with the royal family. There's been bits and pieces of that out and about for the last few months. So I wonder if this is part of that. It's looking a little bit more royal. It's leaning back into a bit more of their their royal roots, as opposed to Archewell, which seemed a little bit more disconnected, even just in its name. So, yeah, full reset, but something that there have been quite a few clues about recently.
And Louise, you touched on that criticism in your earlier answer. There has been plenty of it. How much of this website is in issue, and is the criticism justified?
I do think the criticism is justified because the late Queen Elizabeth made it very clear that royal titles were not to be commercialised, and when they opted out of the royal family as working royals, they weren't able to commercialise the Sussex name. But here we are, they've already got the Sussex website up and running, as it were. So I do think they have to tread very, very carefully, particularly if, as Bronte says, that somewhere down the line there is some sort of faint hope of reconciliation with Harry's family.
Bronte, Meghan has apparently issued a statement responding to the criticism. What did she have to say?
Well, it was in kind of an obscure fashion initially, around the same time as the website was discovered. A testimonial from her popped up on the makers of the website, which is a Canadian digital agency, and it was gushing over the work they've done and particularly pointing out their attention to detail. So one has to assume that if she wants to put that out there with a name on it, that she's very happy with what has been put out, which is a pretty strong message about the people that think that perhaps it's not been the best way to go. But also at the same time, we've heard a bit from Harry and Meghan in the last week. They released another statement in relation to an article that was published in the UK off the back of Harry's reunion with his dad. It was a relatively mild article, but they chose to respond. It was about how they needed to stay the course on keeping quiet about the things that go on behind closed doors in the palace. And they fired back and said that they're receiving constant criticism, but they're still here, and then they won't be broken, effectively, is what it said. So we've heard a lot from them. They appear very set on this path, but obviously they're happy with the output. Meghan, at least, is very happy with the website.
Now, Louise, a report today in Vanity Fair that Meghan is apparently trying to mend her rift with Princess Catherine. It's an unnamed source, but do you think is there anything to this?
Well, I think there's more chance of hell freezing over than Cate wanting to patch things up with Meghan. I mean, what's in it for Cate, really? I mean, you could say maybe she wants the relationship between Harry and William to mend, but that's not going to be fixed by her becoming besties again with Meghan. I don't think she trusts her. I think also Meghan's problem is that she's allowed this narrative to flourish that Cate and Charles were somehow making racist comments about Archie before he was born. I mean, this is a narrative which she's never defended them on. She never said, no, they are not the ones I'm talking about. So why would Cate want to mend the bridges with her? And I also think it's interesting that this story's ended up in an American magazine, because traditionally these stories are briefed by various royal households, and there's no way that Cate and William are going to brief an American magazine to somehow warm up the case for a reconciliation between the two sisters-in-law. I mean, I just don't buy it at all. I think it's rubbish.
I think that's a very good observation, Louise. Now, Bronte, a great piece by Camilla Tomney in The Telegraph about the Sussexes and their ultimate dependence on the royal family for their relevance. This is something that we have talked about numerous times. She doesn't miss.
No, she's not really ever been a fan of the Sussexes, but here she really does take aim, and there's a couple of points that really stood out to me. I mean, she outlines the fact that in those biographies on the website, with Meghan, it talks about, two of her major projects, which both happened while she was in the royal family, which really just puts into contrast, the other column, which is what philanthropic endeavours have really taken off since they left the royal family. So that was an interesting one and really well put, actually, in the article. And the other one, of course, is the fact that it's been chosen to have the titles of their children in that. Now, we knew that they'd picked up Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet as the titles some months ago that came out. But to see it there again in print is, again, quite jarring, because all we've really heard is how difficult, what a horror show, I suppose, it was for Harry being born with that title. So the fact that they've adopted that for their kids, as is their birthright, but really just flies against what they've said about what comes with the trappings that come with that title. So yeah, it was really well put, and also echoes what Louise said at the top of the show about the criticisms about them looking to be banking in on their royal status.
Louise, have you got any additional observations to make here?
I think Camilla Tominey's piece is very good because she does skewer the hypocrisy around Meghan and Harry, in particular Meghan, standing for family values, when of course we know that she shunned her own family and certainly had more than a decent crack at her in-laws. So I think, and also the sort of whole narrative about being, with the people and understanding everyday struggles, when of course we've seen her this week in a Hermes, $6,000 padded coat, I think at the Invictus event. So I do think there's a disconnect. She either wants to be one of the people, or she wants to be seen as a very wealthy woman. You really can't be both, I don't think.